My 365 Podcasts with me, Pete Cohen. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another My 365 podcast. Today's guest is incredible. She is one of the strongest women in the world, not just physically, but also mentally. You're going to be hearing today from the incredible Gemma Magnusson. Sit back and enjoy the show. But if you want to My 365 your life and you want to receive 365 days of free coaching to transform your life, then visit mi365.me. That's mi365.me. And Gemma, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Pete. I am absolutely fabulous. How are you?
I am amazing. Now, listen, for those of you that don't know who Gemma is, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is one of the most charismatic, amazing helpers of people I've ever met. But she's also one of the strongest person in the entire world, probably the universe. But when I heard Gemma's story, it really just blew me away. We met at a conference where I was speaking. We ended up sitting next to each other. We're both very curious people. I started asking her some questions. And basically, within a few minutes, she told me that one day she was in a gym waiting for a friend of hers. And the personal trainer who was in there basically just said, "Hey, why don't you come over here?" And next thing you know, Gemma is one of the strongest women in the world. I know that's not exactly how it happened. But Gemma, tell us your story. How did you become one of the strongest people on the planet?
Well, I'd always liked watching World's Strongest Man when I was a kid, and it was something that was very family orientated because you used to sit down at Christmas, choose your favourite strong man, and really get behind them. And I just loved that camaraderie. I loved that, how unique it was. It was something very different. To me, it was not necessarily a sport, but more of a sportainment. So it really appealed to me because I absolutely sucked at all sports completely. At school, PE was awful. I still have the most letters written to get me out of PE. That record still stands. At school, it was rubbish, and I was just so bad at it because I'm not a runner, and I didn't really like netball, and I wasn't very good at hockey. Shoved me in the goal at hockey, and I was fine because I didn't have to do anything. But it was something that I really wasn't very interested in. I wasn't very inspired from. But this World's Strongest Man show was really exciting to me. Anyway, as it goes, I got talking to a few of the world's strongest men, and I was at a competition, invited a few of them over to do a charity event that I'd organised, and I'd just started training, like you said, because I'd met a personal trainer in a gym whilst I was waiting for a friend, and I'd started thinking, well, the weight section's really fun, and it's not as boring as cardio, and I really enjoyed the weights. And then one of the world's strongest men invited me to go and train with him. And that was Eddie Elwoods, who was 5 times Mr. Universe, went into World's Strongest Man at the end of his bodybuilding career. And he was my coach for 3 years. And he got me from being very, very, unfit and not very fitness orientated to being Britain's strongest woman 4 times and then 2 times World's Strongest Woman runner-up.
Wow. So much there. So I have to ask you a couple of questions. Just imagine this, sliding doors. Imagine going back and being in that gym, and if that personal trainer had not said something to you to get you to start doing some form of activity, where do you think your life would have gone?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I had just, at that point, when I met that personal trainer, I just started singing, and I was looking to sort of diet and make myself look more socially acceptable, let's say, because I've always been very big. I'm 5'11" and a bit on a really good day. I've always been very broad. My shoulders have always been very broad, and I've always had this ability to throw hay bales around when I was working in the stables when I was a young kid. But I think that that point when he came in was just the right point to really exercise the fact that I was looking for change. And if he hadn't have done that, I probably would have done something else, but it might not have been in the same way. But I do believe that I would have probably always got to the strength outlet, because it was just something that I was really good at. And because they don't have that in schools, I think that that's very much something that you have to find out on your own. And strength, you know, which I'm sure we'll come on to in later in the podcast, but strength for me is my absolute entirety now. It's what I am, it's what I preach, it's everything about me. So I think it was just one of those life destinies that was going to pick me out at whatever given time.
Absolutely fascinating, because I think what I'm really curious about is, because we have a lot of what we call My 365ers, people all over the world who want to turn their life around, and many of them actually have. And one of the things we teach is, in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you picture. Is it possible that Gemma Magnusson, when she was watching The World's Strongest Man, in the back of her head was going, I would like to do that one day?
Absolutely. And I think that I remember very vividly in my brain, I can see where I was stood. I don't know if you remember these, Pete, but the weights that had the elastic on the back of them, and you used to put them on your hand. You know, remember when the aerobics fad, you know, the aerobics craze was all there. Well, my sister used to do step aerobics in front of the TV because she was super fit, still is super fit, and she used to have these weights, and they weighed 2 kilos. I remember this. And I remember seeing one of the events, and I ran into the study where these weights were kept, and I took them out, and I put them on my hands, and I stood there in a crucifix hold, which is one of the events that the guys were doing. And I stood there, and I pushed myself so much to hold these weights out at arm's length as long as I could. And I think I did it for like a minute, 2 minutes, or something like this. And that, to me, was the start of my passion to be the strongest version of myself. I didn't see any women's opportunity at that point because I was very young. I was about 12 or 13, and it was only when I became 18, 19 and somebody said to me, well, actually there is a female version of this. It hadn't at that point been televised in this country, but it was such an opportunity for me to at that point when I was very young, you know, to practice. And I think at that point that was the visual for me that set in my brain that I wanted to be a female version of what I was seeing on TV. So yes, I absolutely 100% agree. You get what you visualize, for sure, 100%.
I love what you just said before about wanting to be the best version of you, and you know, rather than comparing yourself to other people. I think that's one of the great attributes that you have, Gemma, and hugely successful people have. They just want to be better. They want more. But look, let's just go back. So at what point did you realize, oh, I'm actually pretty damn good at this, and I could be one of the best in the world? Was there a specific point that you just realized, I've got what it takes?
I don't think it was a point where I realized that I could. It was, I realized that I wanted it. And there was then no stopping me doing it, because that was, you know, I'd found something that I liked. And I'd found something that I could commit to. I found something that I was dedicated for. And to me, when you can dedicate and commit and see it happening and visualize it and all that sort of awesome stuff, that was when I decided, no, I want to be one of the top girls in this, because I wanted it more so than you know, than I thought, well, no, I can do this. I thought there wasn't an aspect of can I not. It was, no, I want it.
So tell me, when you say you wanted it, what is it that you wanted? Was it that you wanted to see how far you could go? Was it that you wanted to beat other people? Was it a bit of everything?
Do you know, that's the funny part about strongwoman. Strongwoman and strongman are two completely different sports, and I've always said this. Strongman is all about competing with the others. You've got that alpha maleism, you've got that sort of real competitive element, whereas strong woman is very, very different, and I never wanted to beat anybody else. Like the story where when I decided that I wanted to be with the elite girls, I emailed the girl who had the current title of World's Strongest Woman, and her name is Jill Mills, and she's still one of my very good friends. And she wrote to me a beautiful email. I've still got it, love it to bits. She gave me some little tips about how I could train in a gym and, you know, basically increase my strength with certain different, you know, tricks and whatnot. And she was the top of my field. So because I wanted to be at the top, I went to the top and asked the girl that was at the top. And that, for me, was me putting myself amongst the elite at that point when I hadn't even done my first competition.
Wow.
Because it was just a case of, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And I think with the things that I tend to do in my life, I really try and focus, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be at the top. And then I really put my full energy towards.
It's amazing.
Towards that.
It's amazing that I hope everyone who's listening to this just write this down. Some real key learnings. I love what you said about no stopping. Once you decided to do it, you weren't going to stop. And the whole Mastermind Alliance, go to the best, learn from the best. And the fact that the best was prepared to help you. And I know also you're an awesome coach. And I love the word, you always use that word awesome, which is one of my favorite words. That you're now coaching people. And I've been watching, that the girl you've been coaching, Donna, and just she's just become a world champion. I know. I was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, which is amazing, because when you've achieved something and you've got hindsight, it's very hard to teach hindsight, to tell them, listen, you're not going to win, you're going to lose, but when you lose, you've got a chance to get stronger and get better. But I think you've done. How did you come across her? Because that's like paying it forwards, which is something else that you've done. Where did you find her, and what's that been like to coach a world champion yourself?
Well, Donna I got asked to judge a competition in Scotland where Donna was competing, and it was very strange because I just moved from Iceland back home to North Yorkshire in north of England about 2 months previous to that competition. And Donna had just moved from Inverness to Catterick, which is very close by. It's about 20-30 miles away from me. And she had, after the competition, after I judged the competition, we'd got talking. She was she still is a very lovely person. And she asked me if she could come for a coaching day. And I said, that's no problem. So she came over. I did some Olympic lifting coaching with her. I took her through some techniques that I thought that she might, be able to use in the next competitions coming up. And then she decided that she really wanted to commit to the concept that I had developed called Power Burn, which was part of a 3-day-a-week training system. And she has been in that training system now for, it'll be third year going into, it'll be 2.5 years she's been in that now. When she decided to commit to that, after about 6 months of her being in the program, I really saw this total dedication, very similar to my own that I'd had in the past. And I asked her what she wanted to be. And of course, she wanted to, first of all, be Britain's strongest woman, which we got her to. And then when she got invited to this year's Arnold Classic, I said to her, do you want to win this? And she immediately answered yes. And I said, right, well, let's go and get it then. And before she left for the competition, because I couldn't go with her this year, I went with her last year for the experience, but this year I couldn't sadly go. But when a couple of weeks before she left, I asked her how she felt, and she said, I just want it over and done with. And at that point, I thought, that girl's coming home with a gold trophy, because she'd already won. And that's what I love about Donna, is that she's so humble in her, her existence, but she's so focused on what it is that she wanted to do. And she wanted to win that competition. And there was no ego about it. There was no, sort of standing on a box saying, that's me, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. It was just a case of go there, get the job done, come home. Yeah, done it.
Well, you know what, Gemma, it's a classic example again of you taught her what to do, which is to picture what you want before it happens. Last night I did a webinar, and we were talking about belief, and we were talking about Roger Bannister, and Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile after everyone said it was impossible. Within 3 years, I think 27 people had done it as well, or a year. I might have got that wrong, but he'd already won it in his head, and he just let his body catch up. So I hope everyone that's listening to this really understands that belief is about your ability to see what you want to have happen before it happens. So look, we could talk all day. I want to talk to you about why strength is so important. Why are you such a component? Why are you such a, what's the word I'm looking for, Gemma? Help me out here. An advocate. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't even know what that word means, but I'm going to use it. Why are you such a believer in strength? Why is it so important?
Well, it's funny. I got asked to write a blog the other week, and it was just about strength in women and strength in general. And one of the things that I realised at this point, and it's only when other people ask you questions that you realise stuff about your own life, in my experience. And this guy had asked me this question, what does it mean to you? And I thought, gosh, well, it's taken me a lot of years to understand what strength actually is. Because it's not just the ability to be able to go and lift something heavy. It's so much more than that. And I think that when you take away the actual physicality of strength, which is, of course, a very big component of being strong, a very, very large component of being strong. But when you are able to build your foundation as strong as possible, there are no limits to the strength that you can excel in. And that, for me, it's the foundationary system of strength for me that is the biggest point. The foundations that you build in any area of your life, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your health and your wellness, whether it's your reputation, your abundance, your wealth, your family, your self-knowledge, improvement, your career, whatever it is, it's the foundation that you build. And if you can build on the strongest foundation, then you are unlimited to what you can produce. Now, when I look at strength as a goal, it makes me giggle because nobody yet has ever come to my studio and ever come into my coaching arena and asked me to make them weaker, because it's just something that we never aspire to be. I don't know whether you've ever had it, but I've never had, I'd like to be a little bit weaker, please, because we all strive for strength in some aspect. And when I was at my actual physical strongest in 2006, I went to the World's Strongest Woman in Poland, and at that point I had a 270 kilo deadlift, I had a 120 kilo log lift, I had a 250 kilo squat. I was living in Iceland, so I was just absorbing the natural strength of these people. And whether you want to or not, living in Iceland will make you strong, because it's a side effect of it. It's a very, very harsh environment to live in. It is the best place in the world to get strong. And I went to the World's Strongest Woman in 2006 with all of these huge, huge lifts behind me. And on the third event, the event equipment broke. I fell on my head. I got knocked out. I ended up in hospital. I couldn't finish the competition. And it's through your greatest failings, because at that point I'd been sponsored by a big company. I'd had all this amazing backing behind me. I was the favorite to win. It was, to me, a huge failure that I thought to myself, well, I have to learn my biggest lessons from this. What I learned from this was that I had focused so much on my physical strength that my emotional strength and my mental strength hadn't even been touched. And that's when I got into really focusing on, and also if you go to America, I've been very lucky to work with the most elite athletes in the world in all areas, but some of them are extremely religious, and the strongest people ever meet will be very, very highly Christian people, and this is that emotional, spiritual side of the strength that they have grown as well, and it always grows in a triangle. And what I do with my athletes is that, from my own experience, I use the fact that, yes, the physical side is really important to grow, but you have to grow equally in all aspects of your life. And that foundation is going to help lift you up to the top you can be, because otherwise you're going to be very, very imbalanced. Now, that's what strength is to me. It's finding balance in every single aspect of your life and growing to be the best version of you. Like we said before, being the best version of you, not somebody else, not trying to be someone else. I'm not trying to be Jill Mills. I'm not trying to be Anna Rosen. I'm not trying to be Aneta Florczek from Poland. I'm trying to be the best Gemma Magnusson I can be, because that's who I am. Growing that with the strongest foundation is a super, super cool way for me of describing what strength means to me. And it's through that, through that sort of failure, I suppose you call it a failure, or the biggest lesson of my life, I like to call it, in 2006 that I realized that that was where I needed to grow more. And I spent, a good couple of years growing those other parts of me and learning the most about it.
Wow. That was a pretty awesome answer. I'm sure so many people are going to be inspired by your definition of strength. I absolutely loved what you just said there, that, I didn't know that about you, to be honest. I didn't know that you'd gone through that. But you know what? Like you said, what doesn't break you can be the making of you. It's just sometimes we don't realize that in the moment. And I'm sure there'll be many My 365ers all over the world that will listen to that. And when they have some hardship or something happens they didn't expect to happen, some obstacle, that they might be reminded of your story of, okay, what's the learning here?
Yes. 100%. I think that when you go to a lift, and you can bite-size this down into any tiny thing or any major thing. If you are going through a training program, and part of that training program, or on your day that you decide to go to the gym and you say, right, today I want to deadlift 200 kilos, and you don't get it, well, you go back, you look at the bar, you sit there and you look and you think, okay, why have I not got that? What is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to change that will make me lift that right now? And I did this the other week. I've started working with the Army, and I've taken some guys in the Army through a 12-week deadlift program. And one of the guys there, he went to lift 180 kilos, which is a huge amount. And he failed the first lift. And he came over, and I sat him down, and I talked him through something. I showed him a video of something. And then he went back, and honestly, Pete, that bar flew in the air. And that, to me, is a huge indication of the physical side of how mental and emotional strength foundation setting can help the physical, as can the physical and mental help the emotional, and then the emotional and the physical help the mental.
Yeah,
they're all completely interlinked.
They most definitely are. It's there's so much I could say myself. I just kind of have to hold back because I want to hear from you. So this is one of the things I want to know. Okay, so what's it like? Because how many world records do you have?
Well, I have broken 8 world records. I think 2 of them or 3 of them now have been taken. I know Donna, which was actually my goal for her. I always said when I knew that Donna was totally up for this, that I want to make her better than I ever was. So I want to train her to break every single one of my world records. And on May the 7th, I think it is, she's actually had a stone, an Atlas stone, which is one of these big concrete balls, made for her that's 148 kilos or 148 kilos. I mean, no one's ever even touched that weight. This is like 10 kilos heavier than any stone that a woman's lifted so far recently, in the past 20 years. And she's going to be trying to break the world record for that. So she's broken a couple of my world records, which I'm so happy about. And of course, I had got 8. So I think not all of them currently still stand, but let's just say 8.
You know what, again, I love about you, you're not really bothered. I mean, the fact is you broke a record, and it's like, I hope everyone that's listening to this is encouraged to break their own records, to break out of their own molds, to realise, our potential is limitless. But tell us, what is that like when you know that you're going to lift or do something, knowing that by doing it, you're going to break a record? What was your approach to doing something like that, and how did that feel when you knew that you'd broken a world record?
Well, I think the funniest record that I've got is in 2011, which was 8 weeks after the birth of my second child. I competed in the World's Strongest Woman in the Ukraine. And I went there with no intention whatsoever. I'd just given birth. I was up against girls that have been in this for years. Kati Lotto from Finland, she was an ex-World's Strongest Woman. The Ukrainian girl, ridiculously strong. And I went there with no expectations. And right at the end, when they were calling out the trophies and things, I just thought they'd missed out my name. And I ended up coming second, which was it was more of a shock to me than it was to anyone else, I think. But at that competition, there was the super yoke race, which was running, sprinting, 20 meters with 250 kilos on your back. And you would pick it up and you sprinted. Now, A, bearing in mind that I'm not a runner. B, I probably sprint faster with weight on my back than with weight without on my back. And C, I hadn't done this event for a very, very long time, but something happened at that moment that it was, all the stars must have been in alignment or something. But I just looked to the finish line. I picked up this amazingly heavy piece of machinery, and I just literally ran as fast as my legs could carry me because I really wanted to win that event. I used to love that event. It made me so happy. It was over so quickly. And that was probably my best record. And what I did before that was I just looked to the sky and I saw my best friend, who she used to tell me to throw my heart there first. And I thought, great idea, Lucy. So I thought to myself, right, I'm just going to throw my heart there and I'm going to chase it. And that's what I did.
Wow. Unbelievable. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, it was really amazing. I just know that there's so many people that will listen to this and will be inspired. And those of you that are listening, guys, I hope you take notes from...
But it's so important that, it doesn't matter whether the feat of strength is something that you're doing in the World's Strongest Woman or, like the other day I had this real curveball in my life and I stood there and I did exactly the same thing. I just said to myself, right, well, where's my heart going to go with this? And I did exactly the same thing with my life situation than I do with the situations when I'm in competition. And it's so easy being an athlete, Pete, because when you're an athlete, somebody gives you a piece of paper and they say to you, okay, Gem, here you go. In the next 6 months, you have to be able to lift this, and this on this day at this time in this, place. So somebody gives you your goal, and then you just go and train for it. Whereas in life, that's the hard part, because no one's giving you a piece of paper saying, right, you've got to do this, and this by this, and this. And that's where it becomes a little bit tricky. But when you've got the experience of success in another area of your life, you just have to transfer it to this sort of grey area where you have to choose your own, make all your own decisions. And that's where my World's Strongest Woman experiences have really helped me in my own life, because I've just transferred how I did one thing to how I did something else.
Yeah. I think what I would encourage everyone that's listening to this to realize is that we can all do more, but we have to look after the basic fundamentals. I used to call them the 5: eat, move, sleep, meditate, and be positive. Now it's the Magnificent 7 with Dr. Rakowski: eat right, think right, move right, poo right, or as they say in America, poop right, sleep right. There are 7 basically, and obviously one of them is about moving and being strong, because life throws curveballs at you, and if you're not strong mentally, I think it's very hard to be strong physically. I've seen what you do. I've done a couple of your power burn classes, which I just thought were absolutely awesome. Just one of the best things I've seen, having been a trainer for many years, just pushing people and getting them to get results. But listen, tell us, you also married one of the strongest people in the world, and you've got 2 children by him. And
Yep.
Those 2 children, tell us about that. What you found out for that BBC, was it a BBC documentary?
I think it was ITV, but yes, there was a documentary done, and we obviously we're not married anymore, but the documentary that the ITV did was really fascinating, and the reason that we agreed to do it was because it was so scientific, and they gave us both DNA tests, and what they found was that my ex-husband had the rarest strength gene in the world, and I had the second rarest strength gene in the world. So 0.02% of the world population had my ex-husband's strength gene, and 0.05% or whatever it was had mine, which obviously ultimately leads to your children having these amazing strength genes. And both of my children are, this is so blasé to them. They watch their dad on TV, they watch their mum on TV. It's second nature. Seeing mum pull a car, seeing mum lift a truck, these sorts of things are just like, oh yeah, whatever. But it's so programmed into their brain as to be the norm that, when my eldest has to do something and he has to help me out, I have no, lifting something, for example, I've got no qualms about the fact that I know that he can do it, because he, the programming that we're giving him as a child is all about how to think strong, how to be strong, and how to perform strong, and that's I think it's genetic, but also it's still a more in my opinion it's very much about the programming of your existence and your environment around you.
Most definitely. And I've met your kids, and I just think they are unbelievably awesome, just like their mum.
Oh, they love you. They love you. They talk about you all the time. All the time.
So listen, tell us also, because we had a conversation before we came on air, because you were on The Voice, which is a program I think people know all over the world. How did that come about, and what was that experience like of being on there and the chairs being the other side, and what was that like?
Well, the whole experience was great. I used to be a singer many, many years ago, and in a way, in sort of a very strange roundabout fashion, singing is the reason that I got into training. And funnily enough, when I was talking to the people behind stage, it was always singing that actually supported my strongwoman career rather than the other way around. So, you know, everyone else had a job to support their singing career. Well, my singing supported my career. So I could do a gig or 2 gigs or 3 gigs on a week night, and then I could train all the way through the day. But when I moved to Iceland, I just completely stopped singing. So I hadn't sung for like 8 or 9 years. I came back to England, and my best friend, who has got a lot to answer for, Pete, she decided to trick me into singing over WhatsApp to her and sent it off to The Voice, and I got an audition, went through the whole process, which was really, really fun. And they did make it a lot of fun. Right to the end, I think 40,000 people auditioned. I didn't, willingly audition. I was forced into it. But and there was only about 150 people that actually got through to the end show. So, getting there was quite an achievement. But it was really fun. The song that I sang was very, very dear to my heart.
It was Cher, wasn't it?
No, it was Something Inside So Strong.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So we sing it together. Come on, you and me. Let's go. Ready?
Something inside so strong.
Oh, wow. We've got to do a duet and get back on The Voice next year, you and me.
Defo.
And then we'll start a band where I can picture it. Then we'll be household names.
I'll move to London.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. It's already happened. So there you go.
Boom.
So Gemma, what does Gemma really have to say about your philosophy, your way of moving through the world? What are those wise words that you would give to anyone that's listening to this about having a better life?
It's all about balance for me, Pete. And in everything that I do, I'm always looking for the balanced approach. Now, you always have a choice. In every situation, we have a choice. Now, today, in my concept, is measurement day. So today is the day where I measure everybody, body composition-wise. So, and remember, I've done this to you. So we take 7 sites, and we pinch the 7 sites, and we come up with a body composition. And whether people have, decided to eat very good, nourishing food during the month, I can tell about their hormonal balancing and their hormonal profiling through this 7-site method, pinch method. Now, when people have a goal and they want to reach that goal, I will strive beyond all Call of Duty to help them get that goal, because that's what my job is. I'm a success coach, and I want them to be successful. And where I love it the most is that I'm not training elite athletes on a day-to-day basis. I train a handful of elite athletes on a day-to-day basis, but my majority of clientele is your absolutely perfectly wonderful normal people. And I am bringing the elite to the norm. Where that is for me is a balanced situation. So if somebody wants to change their life and make a massive transformation in their life, they need to find a balance within that life and within their lifestyle to be able to add, training into their life, add good nutrition. And it's a step-by-step process that we do together. And I think that philosophy, as long as you take one step at a time, have your goal in mind, but take it one step at a time. Now, there is something that I like to reference to called obliquity. And it's when you are successful via obliquity, which is basically doing something without knowing that you've done it. That, to me, is sustainability. It's when you can sustain that for life that I believe that you have been a super success. When it becomes a super habit. So, as you and I know, it takes 21 days to change a habit. Is it still 21 days? They haven't change
I don't
that
know
date.
I don't know if there's actually any proof. I said that for years, but apparently it's not. But whether it's 20, 30 or 40, the fact is we can all create new habits, right?
Yeah. So, and it's attaching new habits onto existing habits. And for me, creating your goal and creating a desire for what it is that you want in life, if you ask 10 people what they want in life, very few people can tell you what they want. But it's providing that ability for people, A, to be able to know what they want, B, to be able to believe what they want, and then C, to be able to provide them the solution to give them what it is that they want. And for me, it's all about balance, because when you tip the balance and you go full on steam ahead one way, that steam wears out and you go back to the way you were. So it's doing it nice and steady away.
I really like that. When you were talking about balance, I wondered what you were going to say, but I like really, really relate to that. And I'm sure many of our My365ers do, about the balance to create the time to do what is necessary, for your own health, your own well-being, your own positivity. Absolutely, to coin a popular word, awesome. So, Gemma, where do people find out about you? Where can people get more information?
Well, I have a website, which is GemmaMagnusson.com. If anybody wants to email me, they're always very, very welcome to. I am always open to, accept emails about helping people get strong or pointing them in the right direction. I love talking to people, as you do, Pete. We love people. We love getting to know people's stories. I love, every single person I meet is ridiculously special with an amazing superpower, and I really believe that. I really believe that every single person is special. And since working with the Army, which has been an absolutely incredible opportunity for me to do, that has become even more apparent, because these superheroes are superheroes, and each and every single one of them has this individual amazing talent that we've really created and we've really explored on and really pushed out of them, I think. But yeah, for me it's about seeing everybody's individuality and really just focusing on growing their individual awesomeness.
Yeah, I love that. Guys, check out Gemma Magnusson. She's an incredible lady. Take some action. Check our website, GemmaMagnusson.com. Take some action based on this podcast. Write something down. Maybe listen to it again. Tell someone something that you've learned from this, because it's amazing what you can learn from other people, but we all need to take action to build a better life for ourselves. Make sure you share this podcast. Make sure you write a review if you've enjoyed it. Check us out at my365.me, mi365.me. We do daily coaching for free on Facebook, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Gemma, thank you so much for being amazingly awesome. Can't wait to see you again. And thank you for being an unbelievably brilliant, awesome guest. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. And good luck to everybody out there listening. And if you really believe you can absolutely 100% do it.
Yeah! I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And if you want more free inspiration to optimize your life so you can achieve your goals in all the different areas of your life, then visit my365.me. That's mi365.me and sign up to 365 days of free coaching with me, Pete Cohen. Thanks for listening and have an awesome day.